So right now we are witnessing very, very much so a implosion of two reform parties. One, of course, um, in Northumberland, up north, and down south in Cornwall. And bizarrely, the situation in both those parties is very, very similar. Both were areas where Reform UK won, but they didn't end up controlling the councils pretty much because of the strategy that Reform went with during the local election of we are going to say all you guys that we are potentially going to maybe working with are useless, corrupt, and absolute incompetent to the nines. I think that we've seen enough evidence to show that is the exact opposite by this point, quite frankly. But they are collapsing absolutely. In, like I say, up north, you've got two councillors that have now been ejected from the party after they tried to get rid of their local leader. It is now been turning into quite a huge, honestly, farce that has gone on up there. Uh, Possibly looking like it might get quite legal. If it does go quite legal, oh boy, I have no doubt even more stuff will come out of that. Meanwhile, of course, down south in Cornwall, once again, they won a majority of seats, but the Lib Dems and the Independents went, "No, we're not. We're not allowing you to run this. Good job." Because guess what? Not only did the deputy leader leave this week, but also now the leader has left this week, citing that, we're just going in different directions. Meanwhile, of course, I think the reason why those two places haven't become more big national news, quite frankly, is because they're not in charge. Now, it is difficult to try and really predict where I think the first big reform collapse of a party that is in charge will happen, but I think I think it could either be Nottinghamshire or Leicestershire. And I am putting my, I would say, money on Leicestershire maybe being the first place that goes a bit, well, Pete Tong, massively so, in the way that we're seeing going on in those other two local reform chapters, which will be, don't worry, hilarious to watch because Dan Harrison has this coming. He's, of course, the leader of the Leicestershire Council Reform Group. He is in charge there. And recently he's had to do two massive U-turns. Massive U-turns. First of all, as we all know, council tax. The tax, the budget, we know that is coming in December. This is going to be very, very fun territory to watch because you've got December. That's when the budget goes to the cabinet. In January, the budget then goes to the full council. And in February, it has to start going before budget committees to approve that budget. So we're going to have a lot of action on the financial stuff very, very, very soon. So that is going to be very interesting to watch. But also local government reorganization. Dan Harrison has been the biggest opponent of the expansion of Leicester City. Well, now he's had a complete U-turn, just as you've seen in Nottinghamshire as well. They are now more than happy to let the city expand. So I think that there's a lot of trouble coming down Harrison's way. I think they are going to be in a lot of trouble. And as I've been saying for some time now, I wonder whether how much this is going to affect like other elections in those areas. Do people see the chaos that is going on and just go, yeah, we don't want more reform people, or yeah, they're regretting their vote for reform. Yeah. That'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But we've got more on this massive U-turn, of course, not only causing a trouble in Durham for Darren Grimes, still on Twitter trying to justify these tax rises. Honestly, it's hilarious. The excuses change literally every 5 minutes. He's throwing anything he can at the wall to try and show that it's not their fault. Meanwhile, of course, you've now got this happening in Leicestershire. Dan Harrison desperately trying to say it's not my fault, Gov, it's someone else. And of course, you may remember Dan Harrison is the biggest victim complex out there. If you've seen us cover any of those council meetings before, But before we get on into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Don't forget to ring the bell. There are, of course, links down below, the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, where you can well buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the YouTube membership down below. And of course, the QR code up there will take you straight to the Patreon page as well. So thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. Anyway, let's crack on then into this because yeah, I think there's going to be some repercussions on this. I think there is. I think Leicester might be the first reform group that is in control of a council go belly up. So Reform UK is now U-turn on Leicestershire Council tax election pledge. So the group which took over the control of Leicestershire County Council back in May's election has now been accused of a web of lies by making tax promises with no plan or evidence behind them. What a surprise. In the run-up to the election, the group pledged to deliver for local people by lowering County Hall's share of the tax bills. This new now position marks a complete U-turn on the county leader's Dan Harrison's commitments of just last month when he insisted before a scrutiny commission meeting that the lower taxes and no service cuts were possible, and he was aiming to do that in the coming year's 26-27 budget. Well, we saw that scrutiny commission meeting. It was insane. Not only just that commission meeting, but the following full council meeting, Harrison got absolutely savaged. I wonder why the guy in charge of finances did not turn up to that scrutiny committee meeting. I think he knew exactly what was going to happen. But similar positions are all being taken by reform-led councils across the country, with the majority of these parties now under control, saying that they have to expect to put council tax. These, of course, include Derbyshire County Council and Warwickshire County Council as well. They all pledged to lower taxes and not to cut services. The Leicester leader's plan was branded completely bonkers economics by opposition councillors. An additional £8.12 million already needs to be found for this year, for 2025 to 2026, when compared to the budget, which has now already identified over a £91 million gap by the end of 27-28, but was agreed back in February. Each now 1% rise of this tax generates around £4 million for the local authority. Financial officers at the authority were already warning well ahead of September's meeting that the savings options will be inevitably needed to be included to stopping now or reducing services in Leicester County Council if it is to balance the books, something it is now legally bound to do. Now, Councillor Harrison has confirmed that the tax now is expected to rise for residents in April. He said the current ambition is to hold the increase at 3% rather than the full 5%, which has been allowed by government over recent years. I think he's going to have to go up to 5. Durham, I know, is going up to 5. Don't know about Warwickshire, but also wouldn't surprise me if they're going up to 5 as well. But yeah, I don't think 3% is going to cut it. If you've seen those numbers, they just went there. It's what, 4 million by each percent? That's what, 12 million for 3%? Don't think that's going to cut it. I think they're going to have to go the whole 5%. The leader now of the opposition has, of course, sparked a lot of criticism from his political rivals. The Conservative opposition leader, Deborah Taylor, told the local democracy reporting service that she was not surprised, but extremely disappointed. She said, "We were all very well aware of the financial situation at the county council. What I'm extremely disappointed in is that by a reduction in the council tax was one of the main campaigning messages that Reform UK stood on across Leicestershire, not just across Leicestershire, across all those things. They made promises to the electorate that they had no even plan or evidence actually behind them. I, like most Leicestershire residents, will feel that they have been now strung along with a complete web of lies, and Reform UK are now finding out that they cannot deliver on any of their promises." And this is where I think needs to be, I think, made more of an announcement of what happened here and what went on. Because if they can't keep the promises from the last May election, what are they going to promise going for many of these people going into the next May election? So I now have to wonder how much this chaos is going to affect the next May local elections for Reform as well, which, again, very, very hopeful for that is going to potentially quite wreck a lot of apple carts for them and upset a lot of them. I very, very much hope so on that one. Councillor Harrison did tell the LDRS saying that we are elected to, of course, cut costs and have now to laser focus on efficiency. We are now making progress with major efficiency reviews getting underway soon, but they're not going to get in anytime soon. We are trying to lead the way for the councils while trying to pioneer a deep dive with a pinpoint where more savings can be found. Again, they're obsessed with this idea that they can find these savings. This is this weird ideology that they have, that there's just all these savings that can be made, that just no one's just willing to make these cuts. These can't be done anymore. He continues to say, I will, of course, want to keep council tax rises to a minimum, but my ambition is to at least peg it at 3%. I'm working very hard, but also trying to listen as what this will mean now for other services. It's very important that we try and get this right, to be very early in the budget cycle, to try and give a precise figure. But more analysis, of course, needs to be done over the next month or so. We'll be able to say more about our proposals. Once again, he's pinning all his hopes on the efficiency review, on this audit, this outside audit that they've now had to pay for. This isn't a Doge, the doggle that Reform UK are doing. No, this is a review that the people of Leicestershire have had to pay for because he's obsessed, like all these Reform people are obsessed with, that there's all this waste, fraud, and abuse going on in these councils, and it's just hidden away somewhere. And once they find it, oh boy, what saviors they will be. But I'll tell you now, Dan Harrison is not going to find those savings. That review is going to come back not very well, to be honest. And they've got a budget proposal. The first budget has to be ready to be voted on in December. It's October now. They're not going to make it. I think they're not going to make it. I think you could have the council here that might be late, all the like having to have all these emergency budgetary meetings to try and get this budget passed in time. I honestly think it's going that way. It sure seems like it. So, Leicestershire residents, I'm so sorry for what could be about to happen, but yeah, it's not looking good. So if you are a Leicestershire resident, by all means, do let me know what you think about all this. I'm always very interested to know what you guys think. And of course, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.